Buenos dias. Good morning.
Hey,
Welcome,
Patricia.
everyone. Hello, Antonio. Bienvenido. Welcome to everyone joining us live. I hope you are doing well, staying positive and focusing on what you can control. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have your cafecito ready to go. My name is Patricia Mota, President and CEO for HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, national nonprofit whose mission is to positively impact the workplace by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talents and connecting with employers seeking to recruit, retain, and develop diverse talents. During Hispanic Heritage Month, we're highlighting leaders who are making a difference in our communities, and I am excited to have our special guest today, Antonio Tijerino, who is the President and CEO for the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Bienvenido, Tony. How are you?
Doing great, Patricia. Hey, your job just got more important. Your mission just got more critical for this country and for our community. Just appreciate everything you do at HACE.
I do. I'm grateful, as you know very well, Tony, right? It's not only do we do this work in service, but it has gotten even more critical than ever, right? And so, Tony, every time we have a guest here on the Cafecito con HACE, we like to ask, our first question is, how do you enjoy your cafecito, if you are a coffee drinker?
I am. So I've become a decaf. So I know that goes against everything. But, you know, you start, and my kids did it as well. And I didn't do it to them, but they kind of picked up on it. You know, when we're kids, you start drinking café con leche with a lot of sugar in it, just a hint of coffee in there. And then you develop like this cultural sense of smell that you wake up in the morning and it just smells all over the kitchen like coffee. And you walk by coffee grounds and you pick it up and you smell it. It's like from the earth that we're born from, right? But I went decaf several years ago because I think I'm already a little over the top in terms of my energy. So it has calmed me down a little bit, but I still drink coffee every day. I like it with, it's weird because I like it strong with leche in it. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like when you go to a hotel room and you crank the air conditioning so that you can get under the covers. It doesn't quite make sense, but that's how I like it.
Tony, thank you for sharing. And all of you tuning in on Facebook, on LinkedIn, please have your questions ready and feel free to engage in the chat. We will have some time towards the end to share a couple questions with our guests today. And Tony, since we have a wide array of listeners, it's always important for us, and we're always emphasizing about sharing our personal stories. So can you share with us how you got into your current field of work and your trajectory?
In my current field of work was through a career path that brought me here, where a lot of it was volunteering time. When I was a journalism major at the University of Maryland. I then worked in public relations, communications at Burson Marsteller, which is a huge PR firm. And there I had clients, but I was always volunteering on the side in terms of, I remember working on AIDS Walk. I remember working with the Darryl Green Foundation and just working in the community. And then I went to Conan Wolf, and then I went to Nike. And even at Nike, I was involved in community service. And then I went to Fannie Mae, and there was this guy, my hero, named Dr. Pedro Jose Greer, who Presidential Medal of Freedom winner, got the MacArthur Genius Award, a Cubano doctor out of Miami who started like a homeless effort that has given him worldwide attention. And so he picked me out of everybody to hire. He was the incoming chair, which went against what everybody else wanted to do, by the way. So I've always said that the two greatest ways to motivate me are to believe in me or to not believe in me. They both work just as well, but it's always nice when it's the first one. And Dr. Greer believed in me. So my trajectory just went straight up after Dr. Greer. And since then, I've been doing this. I'm going on 20 years, starting in December and January. And I have to tell you, my real education came from just being around people like you and Alejandra Castillo and Lisa Quiroz and Monica Ramirez and Virginia Case and just all of these remarkable people that have taught me, and our network of young people that have demonstrated to me what real vision, what real vigor, what real action is. So it's interesting when people say, oh, you lead this organization or you lead the community. No, the community, the organization lead me, and I'm thrilled to be around great leaders every single day. As I mentioned, a few of them, but they really do lead me. Cindy Benavides, I'm surrounded, Maria Teresa Kumar. I'm around all of these remarkable leaders, and of course, Patricia Mota.
Thank you, Tony. Wonderful people, and just such a staple in our community. But as you mentioned earlier, right, we're really needing to support one another more than ever and ensure that we're leading through our community. So we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and one of my fond memories every year during Hispanic Heritage Month is attending the Heritage Awards that your organization puts on every year. So first, can you tell me and share with the audience what does Hispanic Heritage mean to you, but also share about this infamous event that you host every year?
Yeah, it's interesting because historically, this is Hispanic Heritage Month's platform in America. So the Hispanic Heritage Awards were created during the Reagan administration in 1988 by a pair of Rudies, I like to say, that heroically, Latinos that were inside of the White House, made sure it happened, along with others Rick Bella and Elaine Dagan and others. And so it was to commemorate Hispanic Heritage Month being stretched from a week into a month. They had a small White House ceremony called the Hispanic Heritage Awards. Now it's in its 33rd year. Luckily, we're on PBS because we're not physically going to do it, but normally it's at the Kennedy Center or the Warner Theater and other places, and you've attended in the past. And it's that juxtaposition of Latino leaders in various categories. So you have physicians and business people along with and community leaders and educators, along with celebrities that are doing remarkable things. You're not getting it because you had a lot of downloads or because a lot of people saw your movie. You're getting it because you're doing something beyond it. So, for instance, this year, Jessica Alba is getting the Business Award. Wait till you see this piece on her. She is so sincere and vulnerable and committed in the business side. Selena Gomez is getting it because of the work she's been doing on mental health and making sure that young women understand that everyone goes through this, especially in our community. We're also recognizing Linda Ronstadt, a true legend, Bad Bunny, for his work, especially with the kind of trans community and also politically involved in Puerto Rico, and farm workers. We're going to be recognizing farm workers during COVID, that they're putting their families and themselves at risk so that we can eat with our families safely. They have been remarkable as just the backbone of our nutrition and nourishment during this pandemic and beyond it, obviously. But I've been really, really proud of the lineup we have this year. And we just announced within 10 minutes ago that Sebastian Yatra will also get our Inspiro Award, the young Colombian singer. So we're thrilled about that. But I'm more thrilled about the work we do year round, because the Hispanic Heritage Awards are great. It's important, Hispanic Heritage Month, that we celebrate our culture and that everyone kind of shines a spotlight on it. But it's year round, as you know. Patricia, Antonio, none of us get to take the day off. And that's why I just want to mention to Estuardo Rodriguez and the work of Danny Vargas in terms of leading this effort to create a museum on the mall that is real close to happening. That is important to make sure that people understand that a Latino story is an American story. And it needs to be told year round and for generations. So that's how I see it. And so the work that we're doing transcends a month. We're teaching 100,000 kids how to code. And now more than ever, you need to do that because people are being homeschooled. These charlas are every single week taking on every issue you can imagine, from financial health to mental health to racism in our community that we need to address, to sexism, to this Friday is going to be on the election process, which is going to be unique this year. And this is the single most important election in my lifetime. And I'm old, so I've been through a few. So we just want to continue to be aggressive, continue to be naive about the impact we can make and realistic about the impact we can make, as well as being able to collaborate with organizations like HACE to make sure that that we move our community forward.
Absolutely. And you know, Tony, you've always had my support, ASA's support, and the work that we're doing is so critical. And you know, you talked a little bit about the farm workers, right? And we're currently with the pandemic, with the social unrest, specifically with the racial injustices coming to light more than ever. What are some strides that, and I know you made some strides, right? Your organization has made specifically with an article that you published on Latino Magazine that talked about our community addressing anti-Blackness. Can you touch on that and provide, you know, some advice? And to everyone listening in, please have your questions ready. We'll share for others to tune in as well. So, Tony?
So the article I wrote was that and by the way, this was over a year ago. So it was, if we're so against building walls, which most of us are, why are we building walls between us, within our own community and between us and other communities? So we have a blueprint as to what not to do because of what's been done to us. Yet we're homophobic, we're sexist, we're racist. We call a disabled person el renco. We are anti-Semitic. We're Islamophobic. We need to make sure that we check ourselves, and as we're dealing with the social unrest or racism, you know, taking a look at ourselves in terms of racism in this country, we need to look at racism within our own community. And so we've been several of our charlas, and we just did one with AARP on the Afro-Latino experience, but we did another one right after George Floyd's murder. Within 48 hours, we had 2,500 people crash our Zoom, and others were trying to get on, and we were live streaming on how Latinos can be better allies to the Black community. This is the time to be an ally and to demonstrate that we're supporting the Black community. They've been going through this for over 400 years. This isn't just George Floyd. And so we need to make sure that we're in a support mode right now. We have to move forward our own agendas. Everyone does. But in terms of somehow trying to jump on the momentum by the suffering of another group, it's time to take a step back and say, let's just support. Time will come when we can work together. And we're doing it already. All of us are. But I'm saying is that right now we need to demonstrate just purely being an ally. The same way with the Me Too movement, we needed to be allies to our sisters. And so this is really important right now, that we're supporting the Black community in any way we can. And that starts by addressing the issue within our own community.
I think as Latino serving organizations, we continue to fulfill our mission and dedication to the Latino community. And it's in tandem, in my opinion, supporting also the Black lives and allyship, right? You talked about allyship, and that's so critical. And I'm seeing it defined in so many different ways. Can you share in terms of your thought, in terms of what you see as successful Latino Black allyship? Because even within the Latino community, right, we have 25% of our community that identifies as Afro-Latino, and then within that as Black Latinos, right? And so that's even representative of us.
Absolutely.
So how would you say like a successful Latino Black allyship looks like? Maybe one thing.
Well, it needs to be sincere. So it just integrate it into everything you're doing. When we're teaching kids how to code, for instance, through our Code as Second Language program, we want to make sure we're also reaching out to the Black community. We're always 1 and 2 in everything. When we're doing programs right now, in order to connectivity, you know, to connect people right now, there's something that I call the tech equity issue. In the equity is thrown off balance. It always has been, but it's really bad now because of access to technology. in terms of education, in terms of workforce, in terms of everything else right now, in terms of mobilizing. If you don't have connectivity, you're not going to be very effective in all of those things. So we want to make sure that we're also doing those programs for Black and Latino. We're always 1 and 2 in terms of being affected by COVID, and in terms of how we're represented in the workforce or in boardrooms and in Hollywood and everything. So we want to make sure that we can work together. And the way we do that is by authentically supporting each other. So when we were dealing with the crisis on the border, for instance, I got a lot of support from my African American allies, as well as my Jewish allies and the Muslim allies and female allies and Buddhist allies. We need to make sure that we're working together, and the Asian community as well, and as well as the LGBTQ community, because the beauty of being Latino, and this is really important during Hispanic Heritage Month, we look like everybody, and everybody looks like us. We have every religion. We have every race. We have every ethnicity. We have every gender. We have every sexual orientation. We have disabled. We have everything. That's what makes us so powerful and so great, is that diversity within our community. So we have a natural sense that should lead us to being allies, just simply by our own community. But we need to make sure that we are better and more purposeful, more authentic, and more respectful with how that allyship is going to work. And right now is a really good time to demonstrate that sincerity and that support by supporting the Black Lives Matter movement.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing your insights. We have a few minutes left, so I want to get to questions. And one is from Zach. Thank you for your question. What is the role of how can younger generations bring older generations up to date on where we could be as a society in relation to discrimination and bias? And so I know you've touched on leading authentically as one, but anything else you would add?
Yeah, listening. My generation needs to listen more. And I was on a panel once with some really fancy people, and they asked us, what advice would you have for a millennial or a Generation Z? And everybody answered in very eloquent ways. And the first thing I said was, I don't give advice to millennials and Generation Z. I get advice from millennials and Generation Z. So we need to listen better. We need to also support. There's this relevance that everyone is trying to get sometimes in terms of the older generations. Here's the best way to be relevant: to have somebody like Zach make things happen, support, provide them with platforms for their vision, encouragement. I mean, confidence is a huge thing. So provide confidence. Those are easy things that we can give as the older generation. Don't be threatened. It helps us. And so I just have to tell you that our system at Hispanic Heritage Foundation and our Latinos on Fast Track program is built on getting advice. Our Code of Second Language program was from Emmanuel Pleitas, who was one of our Youth Award kids, and now he's my chairman. So you need to listen better. I get guidance from, Elisa Juarez and Monica Villarreal that are on my board, and Jonathan Padilla. They're part of our network, and they became board members. They're now my bosses.
Yeah, and listening definitely is key. We have 1 minute left, so I do want to end on a positive. Is there, what is an encouraging story or something that has inspired you, not only during Hispanic Heritage Month, but with the unique times that we're experiencing now?
What's encouraging, again, is young people that are leading us forward. When I hear people say, you're the next generation, we can't wait on them. A 15-year-old like my daughter with a laptop and connectivity can reach more people than Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Cesar Chavez in a lifetime combined. So what gives me inspiration every single day is the potential impact of every single Latino that you see walking around. And so our job is just merely to support them in achieving their vision.
So thank you. Please, everyone, join me in thanking Tony for joining us today. I appreciate always, you're very authentic, and for your leadership and what you do to serve our community. Mil gracias. Gracias a todos. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hasta la próxima. Salud.